Okay, this is WHN. We've been looking at this the last few weeks, so it's been quite interesting to watch. What I've done is I've just recap again. We've got our high volume bars marked here at the 12 cents, 10.5 cents, 7.2 cents, 5 cents, and and then you've got your old top up here at 18s or 19 odd cents as target resistance points if it ever gets there, which it hopefully will. Okay, so last week we were looking at the breakout. So we got our 5 cent breakout, so that's good, and then we're looking for a low volume test of that breakout to tell us that the volume or the supply on that bar, even though there's buying on that bar, we want to know that the supply on that bar has been absorbed. And we didn't really get that this week, so we've still got the next bar. Even though it's a down bar, we wanted to see a down bar testing. Most of the body of the bar is up above the close of the previous bar, and the volume is still high, so there's still a lot of supply on this second bar. Even though you've held the breakout, there's still a lot of supply there, so it's not that's not really what we wanted to see. But a lot of times when you get these high volume up bars, you get, it knocks them sideways for a bit while they spend time absorbing that supply, and that might be the case here. The other possibility is you could argue, well, they're broken out, back tested the breakout, and they're going to fly up to 7 cents. That could happen too. But I think if you're looking for a long-term entry, if that were to happen next week, they're still going to bring it back here to test this supply. They're not going to leave this behind, because what they don't want is for when they mark up the price, they don't want to be swamped with selling. That's why they do those tests. If they want to mark the price up, they don't want to be swamped by sellers before they're ready to sell. So they'll test, they'll break out, do all that sort of thing. So we're still looking for supply here to dry up. Your risk is probably the whole length of that breakout bar, because I haven't really tested back past the previous breakout. Now they were trying to absorb quickly through there, so that's a hard one. But that's your risk, that they'll try and shake out within the body of this breakout bar. And so if you're long term, I think you've got time, because even if it does fly, they'll bring it back to this area to test, and then you'll probably get a better entry. The other thing is got this little uptrending channel here, just taking these two lows here, just extended them to that high there. So you're at the top of that channel there. So the top of an uptrend channel, even though you're in an uptrend, not the low risk place to be entering long. So you just got to be aware of that. Might just have a quick look at the daily. So we've had our breakout. I'll just take those off. We have this little uptrend channel that it's broken out of. We got the breakout, and it's held this line here, but all these bars, the next bar was down, so that was a test, but most of the bar, not a good one, but it was a test. Next bar was down on lower volume again. Next bar was low volume again, but they're up thrusting now. They're not down bars, they're up thrust bars. So as they're trying to go up, they're being repelled. Trying to go up, being repelled. Trying to go up, being repelled. We do get one down bar there, but mostly it's still up thrusting, being repelled. Probably your best looking bar was Friday's, which is very low volume, but it's an up bar, which is an up bar is a no demand bar. So unless most of the body is below the previous bar, and it's sort of a 50-50 there. But so smart money you could say, are inactive at this point. So there is now low supply where you previously had high supply, but it's just the bars aren't playing nice for us at the moment. They're up thrusting. And I suppose you've got this high volume bar here. They could test further within this high volume bar here, I suppose, down to the 4.4 or even the 4.3 cents. That's your, I think that's probably your real risk. Or they could see that they're not really telling us that they're interested in higher prices yet because of these up thrusts. They're getting repelled. Then when you did have the volume kick in on this bar, it was an up thrust. So that's catching supply. They're not taking it up. Those low, and that sometimes they'll do that. They'll support the lows so they can complete distribution. But I didn't think that volume was high enough. Now here's really high volume here, and that knocked it right back straight away. But they were pushed through there. That volume's, you needed volume to get through the breakout. They're still supporting the breakout, so yeah, it's up to you. The 5-cent stock, it's they can be a bit ratty, which is why I would prefer to look at the weekly for an entry, because you've got more activity in each bar and they become a bit more reliable. So you'll see here where you had your breakouts before, you had the high volume up and they've gone away. Now you could have bought up there as it's going up, but see, they always bring it back to test. They always bring it back to test. See that low volume test there, but it wasn't really low volume. It kicked up, you had a good response, but it wasn't low enough, so they've brought it back and they've tested, and then you see you get really light volume down in that area. That was within the body of your original breakout bar. It wasn't really a breakout bar, but it's a high volume bar as it pushed through, and then off she went. So that's what you've got to be looking at, that they will test. We've had a lot of volume here, and they will test that volume, and that's what we want to see for a good entry. So if you were going to bank on it making a move to the 7.2 cents, I suppose you could put your you would then be assuming that they're going to hold the 5 cents or the 5.1 cents, so you'd put your stop loss just under there, and they might give it a kick up, who knows. But if they do, they'll bring it back for sure. They'll bring it back for sure. So long term, you're not going to miss out if you wait. Even if it takes off, it'll come back. You'll get your entry. You've got time to get your entry, and you possibly might get a better entry if they decide to test within the body of this high volume bar there as well. So it depends. If you want to buy now and risk a 20% drop in the SP, or if you can tolerate a 20% drop, that's up to you. But it is in an uptrend. The last bar was effort on that bar, and it did have a result. The next bar is weak, so this might go sideways or do further testing, or if it does take off, it'll come back and test later on, maybe some weeks down the track. But it'll at the moment they're not. It's not telling us that they want higher prices just yet. There's no VSA entry here at the moment because the bar's not playing nice for us. But you've got your uptrend. It's looking, it's still looking quite okay, but you have got a 20% risk there, which is a very real risk. And so in an uptrend, things retrace, and they can, in a 5 cents, this can retrace quite a bit and still be in an uptrend, if you know what I mean. So the middle of that trend channel is around the 4.1 cents, so they could test even as low as the middle of that channel there. So that's up to you, but I think it looks okay overall. It's just I don't have an entry there yet, and I think the good entry will be if it flies and then comes back and tests that area, which it'll do. That'll be where your better entry will be. Or if it comes and tests further, really light volume, like these low volume bars, that's what you're looking for. Narrow spread, low volume down bars in an area where previously there was no, there was high volume. that's where your good entries will be. And I think if you stick to the weekly, you know, your bus will arrive, but it's just our bus hasn't really arrived yet. It's still lots of supply on that. Even though there's buying, there's lots of supply on that bar, and there's lots of supply on that bar. But anyway, that's WHN. Okay, this is PIR, which we had a look at last week. And I've just got marked there, this is the daily chart, the high volume bar there, which has acted as a support or accumulation zone. And there we go. What was this? This was the this was in April, wasn't it? Anyway, so it's had something bad happen there. So I've marked the low and the close of that bar, which is corresponded with this high volume bar where they push through that supply. It's come back and tested. It's come back. I've had a bit of a shakeout there. When was that? That's in August. That's when the market crashed. So anyway, that area has acted as support. We might just get rid of that high volume bar so we can see the bars properly. And we marked the high of this high volume bar here, and that was our breakout. That's what we wanted to break out of. And we did actually get a breakout there on high volume. So it's broken out. On Friday we had a lot of volume kick in there now. So what we want to see now for a low risk entry is for a down bar, a narrow spread down bar, like that one there is a down bar, narrow spread, very low volume, the lightest in 3 bars at least, a very low volume, testing that breakout now. So probably testing either on the top of that bar or on the close of that bar, probably even as low as the bottom of the bar, but I think the 55 cents, I think what we're looking for is a test of that 55 cents, and I think you'll get it. They'll bring it back and test. They don't like leaving, if they're going to mark this up, they don't like leaving areas of supply behind because they don't want to be swamped with sellers as they're moving it up. So they'll bring it back and test this area again. So that's what we're looking for. Let's have a look if we can see low volume down bar, low volume down bar, and then it kicks up. That's what we're looking for, low volume down bar, and then the next bar closing higher gives us what we're looking for. But you know, that's looking okay actually. You're getting a lot of supply now, so even though there's buying there, there's still lots of sellers in there as well. So that's why we want to see that tested to make sure it's been absorbed and all the sellers have been taken out. You can only do that. You can only do that by marking it down to just see what's going on, like they did there. You know, these little narrow spread down bars. That's what they do. So I think that's looking okay, but it's going to come back and test. We probably can put a little bit of a channel on there and just see what we get there. Oh, trend channel. That's not what I was after. Probably, maybe if I just put one on. That's not a good one. Maybe if I just put a simple trend line on there, connecting those two. Wrong. So you can look at you know, any light volume down bars on that trend line would be you know, any strong bars, and a strong bar is a down bar, like a test onto that channel there, and you'll closing high or middle to high, or if it's really low volume, you know, narrow spread, anything on there like that would give you a good entry. I think now that we're in this little uptrend. So it'll probably take beware of any, if you just parallel that across there, hang on, how can I do that? It's not going to let me do it, but no, it's not going to let me do it. I'll have to do it like this, because that's probably just as valid. But any, just be careful when you're at the top of your trend channel, that because then you become vulnerable to profit taking. But any strong bars on the bottom of that trend line, which are your narrow spread, low volume down bars, with the next bar closing higher, or within the next couple of bars, like there was an entry. It's a bit close to resistance, but anything like that on top of that trend line will give you a good entry, I think. So we can probably look at some targets, I suppose. Okay, let me have a look. Well, you've got the, let's have a look here. Well, you've got the 74 cents there. That's there. You've probably got that pivot there, which is the, well, that's only 71 cents. But your target resistance, your hard one to beat, will be the 74 cents. So that's your target resistance, and that'll be the one to overcome moving forward. So that's looking quite okay at the moment. So yeah, buy the dips. Okay, this is AZH. I've just put a little uptrending channel in there, so that's definitely started an uptrend there. So that's good, isn't it? We'll just have a look. This is the weekly chart, so I'll just have a look. I've marked. You had some really high volume bars here, and see smart money typically sell on up bars. So we had high volume kick in there, and then up she went. But see, they bring it back. They bring it back to that area. They don't like leaving those areas behind. So if you had chased the price as it was going up, I mean, you would have had a lot of emotional pain watching it come back. But that's what they do. They test. When you see the high volume kick in, usually you've got time. For a longer term entry, you've got time. Short term, sure, you can play the volatility, but for your longer term, they will bring it back to that area. There's no need to chase it. Once you see the volume high, really high volume, ultra high volume like that kick in, you know they're going to come back and test it most of the time. The only time they won't do that is if they're in distribution mode and they're just selling it off. And then it's, in which case it probably will get back there anyway, but it might keep going down. But long term, you've got plenty of time. Once you see the volume kick in, there's no need to enter on the volume. You'll have time to get in, and you would have had time there. So now you've got low volume, a lot lower volume down in this area than you had before. And you probably at this stage you could have put that little trend line in. Then you've got a nice little entry there, which is a low volume down bar. That's a test. We like to see them closing middle, but it's still low volume. The fact that the next bar closes up on slightly more volume gives you your entry, your VSA entry, and away she goes after that. But your really high volume up bars, you don't want to be buying them, because, especially when they're closing off the low high like that, because they contain selling. Otherwise, how can they close? You know, typically smart money will sell on up bars. Not all up bars, but that's what they do. And if that was all buying, then how does it close off the high like that? And the next bar closing low gives you the clue that no, that's they're selling that. That's because they wanted to bring back and test this volume here. They took partial profits, and up she goes again. They spend probably what's happened there is that they've hit trapped holders as well. You've got trapped holders in this bar here. See that? I've marked the close of this spiky bar there, and the high and the close of the one beside it. Look how they come into play later on. So that's what it's got its head against there. And they've come through and they pushed through the second time. This time it didn't take as much effort to get through, so they were successful. Up she goes, good breakout on good volume. The next bar is no demand, so they don't want to take it higher yet. They want to test this volume. They test. There's less supply there now. Even though there's buying there, there's still a lot of supply in that bar, and they'll test it. And they've tested it there, it looks like. They said, whoa, pull up. Let's test this volume. They've tested it. There's still plenty of supply there, so I'll probably test this further. I think what you're looking for here then is, again, low volume. There we go, low volume down bar like that. Testing on top of this bar. And I think you'll get that. Where's an example of a test here? There's a test, low volume test. Then it kicks up. If you'd entered there, you could have away you would have gone. But there was a nice, really nice test. So yeah, I think that's looking quite okay actually. But you are catching supply now, and it's at that area, at that top of this bar here. That's where it's coming from. There's all trapped holders in here, and this will all have to be worked through. But it's working through. It's in a little channel there. It's just missed the top of that channel, so I don't like that. That could signal that it's going to come back to the bottom of the channel, and it might actually do that. It might go sideways until it hits the bottom of that channel. Any of these low volume down bars, really low volume down bars on top of this channel, like there's one there, yep, like that, on the bottom of this channel, you can enter on, no problem. They're really low risk entries. Coming towards the top of the channel, you're vulnerable to profit taking. So your good entries will be at the bottom of this trend line here, and yeah, that's looking quite good at the moment. But you know, be patient, you'll get a good entry. Don't enter on the volume, enter on the test, and they'll test this line. I think they'll test this 37 cents. So that's AZH. Okay, this is TVN. And oh, what do we got here? There's your high volume up. See, these people buy these, and it just you know, if it's all buying, then how does it close right on the low like that? How does the next bar take it out? And you see them on forums, they talk about it with excitement. You can see it's not. It's selling. They're looking at market depth and saying, oh, buyers and sellers are coming in here and that. You know, they're supporting. It's all over. You know, once smart money are out, you know, the herd will play with themselves for a little bit, but they can't. If smart money aren't supporting the price, then it won't keep going up, because the herd can only buy so much. You know, if it's just the herd buying, then you continually need fresh buyers to keep feeding the price. Whereas if smart money are buying, they buy different. They buy continually, and that feeds the price up. So that's what you want. But that's selling there. High volume up thrust like that, and you know you don't want to be in that stock when it does that. And they started there, and they supported the price while it went there, and you know, that I suppose if you're trading it, you can make money on this volatility, then it can be quite profitable. But for longer term, it's you see that sort of ultra high volume, and it's, you know, run. You don't hang about, because you don't know what they're doing. But a lot of the times they're selling it, and that's come right off there back to this high volume bar. Here's where they were genuinely buying it, because the price went up, and they tested that volume C to make sure. Low volume testing on top of that bar, then it goes up. They test it again, see that? Volume, up thrust, and then they test. So at this stage it started a little uptrend. So you pay, when you're in an uptrend, you pay close attention to your strong bars. And then boom, they hit it. Ideally you would have waited for the next bar closing up on a bit more volume and away, and that would have given you entry. But with a 5-cent stock, you don't get that. A lot of times you don't get that. The confirmation is the move. In this case, it was the distribution move, and that's what I mean. That's it. It's the low volume down bars on top of an area where there's previously high volume. That's where your better entries are in an uptrend. But anyway, it's come back now, and it's come back to this area again where they were buying. So that's where they were buying before. I tested that area. The volume's now high, now lower. It started a little up move back towards this area, but that's now, this whole area up here is a distribution area. And that's where you're up against now. And that's full of trapped buyers who bought in the excitement, and a lot of those will just want out. They'll have written off that money. They'll have gone, bought a dog, put it in the bottom drawer. They'll have written it off, picked themselves up. Then all of a sudden it starts making money again and coming back to around that, close to where they bought before, and suddenly they've got money they've written off before. They've suddenly got money now. They're going, great, I think I'll cash that in, I'll get out, buy something else. Not all of them, but that's what typically happens. So that's where your resistance now is coming from. But at least, so we've had this high volume here, and that's brought it back. See, all this volume's distorted. So I'm going to try and get rid of it so I can see the bars better. So anyway, it's come up, we've got really high volume up thrust now as it's coming towards that area. And bring it back and they test. See, really low volume, they test. Next bar closes up. They're starting to up thrust a bit, but they're pushing through that supply, so they're absorbing the volume, the selling that was actually in this bar here. They go back up and they're trying to push through. They come back and test, up again. They up thrust again, but they come back and test. That looks like they're trying to absorb that there, because it's holding up there and they're testing. You see all this testing right underneath there. And the volume's not excessive like this. But they're going, boom, test, boom, test. And I think they're trying to absorb that. So what can we do? I think what we'll do is we'll put a line, a support line on the bottom of this high volume bar here. What's that, 5 cents? And it's got into this range between that bar and actually I think what price have I got on there? Close. So it's trapped within the range of this bar, which is close to the top of this bar here. And that, I think, there could be it's a very good chance there that they're sitting there absorbing the supply under there. The fact that they're supporting the low of this bar is being supported, and that there's testing. That's important, I think. You have started a little uptrend, so you've got overall your bigger trend is still up. You know, it doesn't help you if you bought there and it's to say you're in an uptrend. But you do have a line there that you can look at, and you probably might convert that to a channel and see. That's a bit steep, but if we go, no, I think if we go on that one there, that will give us a bit of a channel. It's just got overbought, and it's come back into that channel now. It's sort of in the middle there, but so yeah, so your 5 cents, any low volume testing on your 5 cents, I think will be low risk. I think you could put your stop up just under there, but it looks like they're supporting that at the moment. So while they're supporting that, I tend to be a bit bullish on that, because I think they're attempting to absorb the supply up here. That's what it looks like. They're up thrusting, which is a weak bar because it catches supply. Then they test, and they try it again, and they test, and then I think they're just absorbing, spending a bit of time sideways absorbing supply in this area, and that's actually really good for a breakout. What they're doing, they're absorbing the supply now at lower prices, and then they'll break out. And so if it does break out, then you're looking for the test on top of that breakout. The longer they spend in here, the bigger the move you can get, because the bigger the investment made. And that looks like they're spending a bit. This looks like they're building a cause now for an up move. And the more cause you build, or the more accumulation like that you see, the bigger the move that can make. So, and you've got your resistance at 5.9, and then another one at 6.9, and then 9.1. The danger is if you start seeing these again really high up thrusting and closing off the high like that, and you know they're distributing again in that same area. I mean, that'd be quite profit, 5 cents to 9 point. That's quite a bit of profit for them if they want to do that. So that's what you got to watch out for. Any really high volume. You want to see high volume, but you want to see it achieve a result, and then you want to see it tested for your low risk entry. Don't enter on the high volume. So once it breaks out, look for the testing for your entry. And yeah, so I think that's actually, I'm quite cautiously positive on that, because that does look like they're accumulating there. And it's within this uptrending channel here, so I think that looks actually like a good one. So that's TVN.